if you bought Bitcoin, you could lose money in a year or 2 or 3, but over the course of 4 years, nobody ever lost money in Bitcoin holding it 4 years straight. Right. And I think that's a story with most dominant networks. It's like, if you're buying it without intention to hold it 4 years, I don't think you're buying it for the right reason. The reason to buy Bitcoin is to give it to your kids and your grandkids because it's a long duration treasury reserve asset. Buy it for the people you love or to support the things you love. If you want to trade, you can gamble commodities or go to a casino or gamble on sports or whatever. But this is something to hold for a decade or decades. And if that's the case, then the worst thing you can do is stare at the way the market trades every day, because anybody that tells you what they know which way it's going, it really just wants your money. They want to generate a commission and they want to make you insecure. But my inbox is full of all these dudes offering me a special trading strategy where they're telling me that they can help me make more money by using their patented trading strategy. And I feel like I got approached by some shyster that tells me he knows how to, win at roulette, and he's got a special roulette computer.
Yes, that's all.
I'm like, dude, man, there is no such thing, and you don't know.
All right, well,
you don't know. It's too complicated.
Yes. Don't give me some advice here, then, Michael. I'm gonna ask. I did not ask a question last time. I'm gonna ask one this time. So when I got in August, September of 2017. I watched the run up, and I'm convinced, like you, that this is going to be the dominant monetary policy for the next 50 to 100 years. Who knows? That didn't sell, and I lost a lot of money because I didn't sell at the top. Now I understand the cyclical nature of Bitcoin.
Right.
But I'm very split in my heart of when it goes up, and I understand it will probably go back down a little bit. Should I sell some of it? Should I sell all of it? Should I sell none of it because of my morals? Like, what advice would you give me there? Because now a lot of us who have been in this game more than 4 years, we understand the cyclical nature of Bitcoin.
I think the way you use Bitcoin is a long-term savings account. So if you want to have a portion of your money that you like to gamble with and speculate with and bet on things you're passionate about, take that part of your money and invest it in new ventures or invest it in cool things. Take another portion of your money that you want to save for the next 20 years or 30 years, and put that in Bitcoin and just leave it there and don't get caught up in all the back and forth because, it used to be people.
MicroStrategy speculate at all, like on the cyclical nature of it, or it's in there permanently?
I have bought Bitcoin. I never sold one Satoshi.
Damn,
nor would I sell one.
Not sold any yet either. But I'm thinking I probably should when it goes to the top this time.
No, here's what I think. I think you sell the Bitcoin. How are you going to feel if you sell it and it goes to 82,000?
Well,
and then it goes to 167,000 when it goes to 1 million. And when it goes to 1 million, are you going to be bragging that you bought it at 0.019 million and you sold it at 0.2022 million? Like, aren't you going to feel freaking stupid? Like, I bought it at 0.019 million and I sold it at a 50% gain at 0.023 million, and I lost 1 million.
Like last time, there was an 80% decline or 75% decline in the price from peak of December 2017, January 2018, and then it went down. Do I wait and then I buy like 5x of the Bitcoin?
So Ben, in the first decade, Bitcoin was dominated by a bunch of traders with leverage and offshore exchanges, and they were speculators, and that was one group of people. You've got insurance companies, corporations, treasuries, institutional investors. They're buying this stuff instead of gold. They're buying it to hold it for a decade as an inflation hedge. They're not using leverage. They're not using offshore exchanges. They're not speculators. Their mindset is, I'm going to hold it for 10 years. What can I buy that's better? If I sell it, I'm going to generate a tax bill and I'm going to buy something inferior. So they're not going to sell it. And that means you're not going to see, I think, that kind of volatility.
So you think, I mean, I've heard you talk about, you think the volatility is going to be tamped down a little bit in this cycle.
I think it already is. I mean, if you look at it, the volatility of Bitcoin is decreasing and the volatility of everything else is increasing. Let me give you one more metaphor, Ben.
Yes. I love metaphors.
LeBron James started playing basketball at age 9.
Yes.
And by age 18, all the scouts knew this is the best high school basketball player in the world. And he's probably one of the best professional basketball players in the world. At age 13, he probably punched somebody on the court, and he might have missed a game at 15 because he smoked some weed. And he's a little bit volatile here and there because he's at age 11. Maybe he got pissed off at someone. And you're like, oh, LeBron James is volatile. When's he going to blow up again? From age 19 to age 29, LeBron James crushed everybody and everything in his way. And you probably should have signed him. Because just because someone's first 10 years, they were promising and volatile, doesn't mean that the next 10 years of the athlete is going to be an exact repeat.
Yeah.
It isn't, man. When you're 25-year-old, you don't act like when you were 13 years old. Right. And Bitcoin is moving from its first 10 years to its next 10 years. And it's a much more mature asset. It's not, you can't look backwards and say, I'm sure it'll be like it used to be.
All right, so Michael, all you say was, Ben, if you sell even one Satoshi, I'm not your friend anymore. All right, I'm done.
Hold on.
If I even sell one Bitcoin, I'm gonna have this thing in the back of my head like, oh,
Michael's not your friend.
How bad of an idea this was. I'm such an idiot. Don't do this.
Right. Ben, let me just say one more thing.
Okay.
The people that I know, the wealthiest families in the world, they're like these New York City families where you ask them, where'd your money come from? And they're like, oh, my great-grandfather, he bought like 4 city blocks in Manhattan. And they're like, did you ever sell that? It's like, no, we still own it. They own it for 100 years.
Yes.
If you have really good property, like if you owned a block on Central Park in Manhattan, do you think there's any year in the last 100 years it would have been a good idea to sell it, pay capital gains tax, and buy something else? So what they do is they hold it for 100 years.
Yeah.
And as people print more dollars, the value of the property goes up at the rate that the Federal Reserve prints dollars. And then every 5 years, they refinance it and they borrow more money against it.
Yeah.
So if you borrow against an asset that's appreciating in value, you don't pay capital gains tax. And then the money you borrow, you can live off of, and you don't pay income tax on it. So if you have the world's perfect, if you own a city block in cyberspace that's good for the next 100 years, that's Bitcoin, right? A Bitcoin is a city block in cyberspace. If you own that, and if I told you 1 billion people are coming to that city and they're all going to need to buy their own block, and you own the right property, it's the Manhattan of cyberspace. Why don't you just keep it in the family for 100 years, and the next time you feel you need some money, well, you go borrow money against your Bitcoin. There's no capital gains tax. There's no income tax. If Bitcoin was going up 100% a year, you're getting paid 100% tax-free interest, and you're going to pay 5% interest to borrow the money. It's a 95% difference, right? So you don't want to sell because you get tagged for the taxes, and then you stop generating the yield on the property. Really wealthy families, they just keep the assets forever and they just finance them. That's what they do.
Oh.
Sell.
Wow.